First we start with the top speed test. Something interesting I've noticed is that since the Gemera on the right is bouncier and floated overall, it got extra airtime and went a little bit faster, and the Nevera didn't get any airtime because it just stayed glued to the ground. Anyways, the Nevera managed to go 8 and 11 km per hour faster than the Gemera, with and without the nitro boost, so for the top speed test, the Nevera takes the first point. Then we move on to the early acceleration test. We compare which car touches the wall first and fucking dies. And as we can see, the Gemera accelerates a little bit faster, touching the wall first. But we never know, some cars accelerate faster at the start and others at the end. So for this round, the Gemera easily takes the second point. Next, we're gonna test the acceleration to top speed test. In this case, we're gonna make the Nevera match the Gemera's top speed so it becomes fair. And as we can see, the Gemera still accelerates faster and reaches top speed first, leaving the Nevera behind. So the point of the third round goes once again to the Koenigsegg Gemera. Now we move to the nitro efficiency test. Both cars are pretty similar, but the Nevera's nitro lasts a bit longer. There's nothing much to say about this round, it is pretty straightforward. So the point of the fourth round goes to the Nevera. Now we move on to the drifting test. For this round I'm using touch drive so I make sure both cars go exactly the same path. And as we can see, the Gemera just takes every corner faster than the Nevera, with its drifting overall feeling smoother. So the point for the fifth round easily goes to the Gemera. It just got to the ramp way faster while the Nevera just stayed behind. And honestly, I thought the Nevera would perform better before doing these tests, so I'm quite surprised. Then we move on to the punch drift abilities test on the gauntlet track, Notre Dame. On this map we can see the Gemera completely smokes the Nevera, cause the Gemera's punch drifts are really good while the Nevera somehow became worse, since that car is just simply not made for punch drifting, and more about staying glued to the ground. Anyways, the Gemera once again easily wins the 6th round, taking the point this time. Now we move on to the 360 floaty drift test. This is where the Gemera completely smokes once again the Nevera. And while the Nevera isn't a floaty car, it can at least floaty drift to a degree, but the Gemera is just better once again, so it easily wins the point for the 7th round. Now we move on to the drifting speed to the Cairo 360 everyone knows already, and as we can see, the Gemera just drifts faster and finishes first, leaving the Nevera behind, so the point for the 8th round goes to the Gemera. Now we move on to gauntlet performance. The only track that I could find where the Nevera wins against the Gemera is on the Ghost Ship track. Since it favors longer nitro and as we can see, staying close to the ground and not floating off is essential on this track, but that's about it. Also, something I forgot mentioning is that the Nevera's car shape helps it on wall rides. It is not fat and chunky like the Chiron, so it barely flips up and kills itself. Now as we can see, the Nevera achieved a really good time of 23 seconds, let's see how the Gemera does. So literally the Gemera only goes a little bit slower due to the less nitro and little less top speed it got, but that's about it. Still, I believe the Gemera is one of the best gauntlet trucks in the entire game, yet something I like about it is that so far, it hasn't killed itself during wall rides. The car looks a bit fat and chunky, but it does take wall rides good. Well anyways, the Gemera only went 100 milliseconds slower, so that's not even that much. Now we go back again to Paris Notre Dame track. This is like the best track for the Gemera on the gauntlet, but anyways, the Nevera starts okay and catches up speed pretty fast. But then after that second ramp, it just loses all of its speed, because it cannot punch drift for shit. Literally every corner it takes, it just loses even more speed, and it ends up achieving a time just about under 22 seconds. Now this is where the fun begins. The Gemera does so good on this track literally. It feels like it speeds up faster at the start, but I don't know, I might be just stupid. Now I have to slow it down so you guys can appreciate why the Gemera is just better, but here after the second ramp, it just floats. Like it just keeps most of its speed, and then the nitro boost and acceleration feel way punchier than the Nevera, so it recovers the little speed it lost pretty fast, easily achieving an insane time of just under 21 seconds, and not a lot of cars can do that. So the Gemera once again easily takes the point of the 9th round, as a better gauntlet car. Alright, and which is better for multiplayer, MP1 and MP2? So honestly both cars are bad for multiplayer, but I gotta choose a winner. Let me explain. First is that the Gemera is rank 5000 at max, and it will go against Gold F5 and just co-absolutes and so on. The Gemera is a great car, but for MP2, it is really overranked. As for the Nevera, It is not as overranked, but there are better MP2 cars out there. It is ranked 4900, so just a little bit less than the Gemera, but not by so much, so it doesn't really matter. Now, as for MP1, the Gemera is unfairly placed at Legend League, so it just gets fucked over there, going against class kings like Golden F5, Jesco Absolutes and Imperiums, and as for the Nevera, it is placed at Platinum 1, the same league as the Evo Chiron, and it got no competition against that either, so for both these cars they stay neutral, no one wins. So now, which car is easier to drive? The Nevera gotta be the easier one for sure. It cannot punch drift for shit, so it is easier to understand and learn. It is glued to the ground, and it also is very responsive to your inputs like steering left or right, while the Gemera is faster, yeah, but it is bouncier and you gotta know when to time the punch drifts. The Nevera has a sharper drift radius, and I believe that makes it easier to control, but it has worse drifting speed, so the Nevera wins here. So now both car rarities and cost and their availabilities. Both take 42 million credits and 300 blueprints to max, with their 16 epic import parts cause they are an S-Class cars. The Nevera was featured most recently on last year's Black Friday Burst of Speed event, back when we had the 20% drop rate multipacks, but man, I miss them so much, and having the possibility to get fully maxed out cars for cheaper than they are right now, it just makes me sad. But anyways, I'll stop yapping and continue. The Nevera was obtainable at Burst of Speed packs for around 21k tokens to fully max it out last year, and the Gemera was also available last year on the Musler Super GT special event as a support car, also included on the 20% drop rate multipacks, so a lot of people got the amazing deal of getting a fully maxed out Gemera for 21k tokens, just like the Nevera. Sadly, the days of these types of events with high tier S-Class cars as a support and you being able to max them out with only 21k tokens with their multipacks are long gone. All of these last special events didn't really have any good support car, and now S-Class cars cost 27k tokens to max out with the recent multipack nerf. Both cars stay neutral here, they were available not so long ago, both for the same price, so no one wins. And last but I nearly forget, the direct stats comparison. On paper the Nevera looks better by looking at its stats, only because the higher top speed and nitro, but that's why you should never ever go for a car just by looking at its stats alone, and more of seeing how it actually performs in game. Because there's nothing here that tells you how bouncy or floaty a car is, neither how sharp the drifting is, or the drifting speed of it. Both cars here are fully maxed out, with their epic import parts applied to them, so you can compare them at the same level. Now on which of these cars gives better value? If I had to choose to keep only one of both cars, I'd choose the Gemera every time. It is extremely useful and versatile for Gauntlet, while the Nevera is kind of more replaceable, with it having more cars that can just do as good as it, or even better. So the winner of this comparison is the Koenigsegg Gemera. It is also one of the most fun cars to drive on S-Class, and a Gauntlet beast. If you'd like to see more cars being compared, let me know down below. This is my first comparison video, so I'll see how it does. If you believe I should include more or less tests for the cars on my next videos, also let me know. Your feedback matters to me a lot. Go watch my other videos, I'm sure they won't disappoint you. Thanks for watching and I'll see you later.